We're going to move back to federal politics now, as previewed off the top of the program. The Australian newspaper Simon Benson's story is splashed with a 40-year first inside the Labor Party, starting with Labor will formally abandon almost 40 years of explicit ideological support for Israel, with a resolution expected to be passed at this month's New South Wales State Conference. Let's bring in Labor MP Michael Danby. He is my guest. What do you make of this resolution out of New South Wales? You're obviously a Victorian.
It's a bit exaggerated. What happens at state conferences doesn't really impact on the national conference. And I even understand in New South Wales that this is not decided till the end of the month. Whatever the case is, it's let's be all adults about this. It's Bob Carr orchestrating some resolutions on the Middle East to fuel his obsession that designed to put pressure on our federal leadership. Labor looks like being elected at the next election if the infighting in the Liberals keeps going like this, Peter, and I doubt if big people like Penny Wong and Bill Shorten are going to feel pressured by the day before yesterday's man, Bob Carr.
Well, you say that, but by the same token, Bob Carr's supported by not insignificant figures in the Labor Party, such as Tanya Plibersek on this issue, isn't he? I mean, she's the deputy leader, touted by some as a future leader.
Tanya Plibersek and I worked very closely together in the last term of government on sanctions on Iran. She's more sophisticated than that, Peter. I don't think she, as deputy leader, wants to be pressured by people who are a bit out of date as well. And look, this has got nothing to do with reality. We've got the Palestinian authorities cut off the electricity to Hamas's sewerage works in Gaza. I mean, how could you hand over a government to two fighting organisations like that? They're almost as pugilistic as the people up in that Queensland fight. And why are we always discussing this on the front page of the Australian and at Labor Party conferences? What about the 7 million people in Tibet who've got the Chinese boot on their neck, or the Chinese arriving in Hong Kong and saying that the treaty with the British to guarantee the rights of people in Hong Kong are abrogated? Where's Bob Carr on all of this?
Well, you tell me. I mean, he's the former federal Labor foreign minister. Why is he being so vocal on this issue? Does it frustrate you? Should he have his membership revoked?
No, he shouldn't have his membership revoked. Everyone's got the right to put their point of view. But what I think the current Labor team must resent is someone behind the scenes orchestrating all of this against the interests of federal Labor. We don't want to be diverted on these kind of issues. Bob Carr's gutless. Why doesn't he come on the TV and debate me on Israel, the Middle East or China? I think my views...
I'll try and facilitate that. Are you up for that, Michael Danby?
I'm up for that any time, any day.
As long as it's
anywhere,
during
anytime.
PVO Newsday, we'll put that to
Good
Bob
on you,
Carr.
Peter. And I hope, by the way, not just your two girls will be watching it then. We will have a bigger audience than that.
With the volume turned down, no less. But look, let's get on to some other issues. This terrorist Prakash in relation to extradition, you've got some strong views on that?
Yeah, look, there are two people who have been involved in the deaths of Australians. One is Neil Prakash, who's in the, as the Prime Minister's described him, in a Turkish jail. The Turks have thankfully indicated that it's likely that he'll be extradited to Australia. I know there are a lot of
laws to deal with that, in your view? I mean,
I think we do. I think that the counter-terrorist laws upgraded by both sides of Parliament, thankfully Labor ignoring the Greens in the Senate and voting with the government, mean that we can handle cases like Prakash. But there's also Ahlam Tamimi, the Hamas terrorist who's free in Jordan, who was involved in orchestrating the killing of one of our other citizens, Malki Roth, in 2002. She's just got a new FBI warrant issued against her in March, and in my view, we should be active in both cases. And I believe some of the pressure that I've been putting on via those public advertisements has got the federal government taking action on both. But the Prakash one is he should come back to Australia, despite the views of some of the Hansonites who say that we should leave all of those people over there in the Middle East and just kill them all. I think it's very important for Australians, for a demonstration effect on some of the young radicals who will be excited by his activities, to see that he is tried and he does get a long sentence in Australia if the allegations against him are proved.
Just a complete sort of red herring question, if you don't mind, Michael Danby. What's your view about the barbarism of boxing? I mean, we've got an Australian champion, you've got a Labor Premier cuddling up to him, a Prime Minister cuddling up to him as well. Well done to Jeff Horn, don't get me wrong, but, you know, he's bruised to the point of almost not being recognisable, and it's a sport which is all about trying to put your opponent on his backside, if not out cold. Is it barbaric?
I won't say barbaric, but I have to tell you, Peter, I was shocked to see him doing that press conference next to the Queensland Premier today. He was cut to pieces. It's the worst advertisement for boxing you could possibly have, that he's the winner. And I do understand that there's a growing public sentiment about boxing. That was not a good advertisement for it, and you do make a sound point that it's very nice to surf off the sporting successes of other people, but you know, politicians you know, don't necessarily do the right thing by appearing. I'm sure he's glad of his win, and I'm sure most Australians are too, but it was an uncomfortable scene on Sky today.
Yeah, it's, as you say, I mean, you're saying the same thing as me. We're certainly not taking away from his victory. In boxing terms, it was a great victory, don't get me wrong. But what do you think anything can change here, or is this just an international sport that is just so big that the notion of things like headgear or any such is just never going to fly? Professional boxing has been ingrained for so long. Trying to do anything about it would be akin to sort of, you know, 1920s or 30s style prohibition.
Look, the truth is I don't know the answer to that. Although, you know, any of us who have through our lives followed Muhammad Ali must really seriously think about that. Wasn't he a beautiful looking man? Wasn't he an articulate man? Wasn't he an intelligent man before the effects of all of those batterings took their effect on him? And it's sad for a person as great as him to end his life like he did. So, I mean, to say that this is not a valid argument to think about boxing like you've expressed it, it certainly is, certainly very worrying. And those scenes, you know, weren't just a normal press conference; they were disturbing. You wouldn't have an AFL footballer who'd been involved in some brawl and had his face all bashed up, but his team won, put on TV as a sort of with all the accolades. So there is a sort of a tension there, a dichotomy there that you know, we should face up to.
Indeed, that is the case. Labor frontbencher Michael Danby, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Backbencher now, unfortunately.
Backbencher, what happened? You got demoted.
C'est la vie. I'm the highly esteemed deputy chair of the Treaties Committee, and I'm also.
When did this happen? When were you dumped off the front bench? That's outrageous.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate your support. Please give Bill a call. It was at the change of at the last elections.
Well, let's hope that
some of the youth had to be given their heads, so that's life.
Well, let's hope that we can get some more free and frank assessments about all things where you're not bound to front bench solidarity as a result.
I'm ready here for a verbal joust with Bob Carr.
A Tony Abbott of the Labor Party perhaps going forward. All right, Michael Danby, we will get in touch with Bob Carr. We'll see if we can't set that up. That'd be good. Thanks for your company today. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.